On the cusp of the NCAA tournament, Cooper Flagg from Duke suffered a very painful, potentially serious looking left ankle injury in this game against Georgia Tech. And in this video, we're going to talk about what exactly happened and the concern for if the Duke star player could miss the upcoming tournament. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and the goal in this channel is to teach more about the medical side of the sports world. Not too many college basketball injuries, but obviously here with Cooper Flagg, this is a very big deal. And so we're going to talk about this left ankle injury. Now we can see on this position here, kind of looking back down at this camera angle, we'll flip to some others. But basically, Flagg gets really high up in the air here. He's coming down to make this rebound. And yes, what comes up must come down. And so when you're higher up, you're going to have a greater amount of potential energy, which is a component of the height. And therefore, as you come down, there's going to be more energy, there's going to be more movement and force applied through that ankle as he lands on the Georgia Tech player's foot, and his ankle goes into an inverted position. Same thing here on this view. We can see Cooper goes up, how high up he is in the air, keeping an eye on that left ankle. And as he comes down, he inadvertently lands on the Georgia Tech player's foot, which throws off his body's proprioception, his body's ability to understand where his foot is landing on the court relative to space, and then goes into that severe amount of inversion with the outer part of the ankle going down towards the court. Next, we'll talk about what we saw with the wheelchair, the whole evaluation, him back on the bench, and the anatomy and recovery timelines. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Thanks to Collar for sponsoring this video. When it comes to dress wear, the only thing that you will see me wearing, in fact, the only thing I've been wearing in these videos on my YouTube channel, especially for the past few years, is Collar. Collar, hands down, makes, in my opinion, the most comfortable and also affordable performance dress wear for men. It starts with their shirts. They're made actually with recycled plastic bottles, and it gives them this really nice, lightweight, breathable, stretchable, flexible feel to them that makes it feel like you're wearing athletic gear. The material's wrinkle resistant. I've never had to iron one of these shirts, and it's even stain repellent. Right now, Collar is going to hook you up with even bigger discounts on their already affordable lineup by clicking the link down below. Use my code Brian, B-R-I-A-N, to get 15% off your order. I absolutely love these shirts and their whole clothing lineup. They've got shoes, pants, socks, polos, everything you need to fill out that performance dress wear category. And they are, again, the most comfortable, and I cannot stress that enough, comfortable shirts I've ever worn. Once you try Collar, you're never going to want to put on another dress shirt. So again, click the link down below, code Brian, to get 15% off your order. Thank you again to longtime supporter of the channel, Collar, and let's get back to our learning. Immediate aftermath with all this evaluation, there's something called the Ottawa ankle rules, which are a good set of rules based on physical exam, ability to bear weight, to help you determine whether or not you need ankle x-rays or foot x-rays when someone's had an injury. So the fact here that we see Cooper able to put some weight on that leg, granted he's not putting a ton, he's definitely limping, that's all very reassuring, at least initially, being able to bear some weight. Now, the Ottawa ankle rules would specify both immediate and later on, like in the emergency department or urgent care, but this is at least a good first checkpoint of lower concern for a fracture. Then we, of course, saw him being taken back to the x-ray room in a wheelchair here. This is just for speed, right? He could have probably hobbled there eventually, but they're trying to make things happen quickly. So don't read too much into this, just that he was in a wheelchair. They're just trying to get him back there quickly for a faster evaluation. And finally, in the last bit of what honestly is very good news, I'm recording this in the second half. I highly doubt he's going to return. Maybe he will, we'll see. But we saw him back on the bench. We saw that he was not wearing any sort of a walking boot. And so by now they've gotten x-rays. You're not going to put him back on the bench without an immobilization or a boot if there's concern for a fracture. So presumably no fracture. Now, again, hard to say just initial severity if they're going to put him in a boot right away, but good to see him back out on the bench. Of course, that's all very positive news. So next, we're going to look at our biodigital anatomy tool and talk about the key structures that could be injured here. So looking straight on, first of all, at a left ankle. When we talk about inversion, that's going to be where the ankle rotates in this direction. So the outer part of the ankle goes down towards the court, which is what we saw with Cooper Flagg. The opposite would be eversion, where the foot goes in that direction. The other thing that can matter is how much plantar or dorsiflexion there is. So plantar flexion is going to be how much the toes are pointed down, dorsiflexion pointed up. Ankle injuries with a significant amount of dorsiflexion are going to be more likely to engage the ankle mortise, potentially injure the high ankle ligament or the syndesmosis, as opposed to when you're planing down, more likely to get specifically this ATFL ligament on the outside. So if we zoom in here, the main ankle ligaments that we're going to be worried about, there's three on the lateral side. The ATFL, most commonly injured here in the front. The CFL, which runs from the fibula to the calcaneus. And in the backside, the PTFL from, again, the fibula to the talus. Most oftentimes, it's this ATFL here injured first, then the CFL, and last of all, most least likely, the PTFL. Other structures that can be involved. We've heard about injuries to the peroneal tendons. The peroneal tendons are muscles that originate all the way up here, higher up by the knee, with these big long tendons that wrap around the outer or lateral portion of the ankle. And these muscles are going to be key for helping to resist that eversion. So when you fire those muscles, it's going to evert the foot and ankle to try and counteract that inversion. So these tendons can become strained when they're stretched with an inversion. You can also injure this little retinaculum, kind of the seat belt that keeps those ligaments in place behind the fibula bone. And if that gets injured, then those tendons can dislocate out in front of the fibula, and that's a much more serious injury. You can also have damage to the cartilage with an ankle sprain, obviously fracture, but I think it's reassuring that we saw him back on the bench without a boot, so we can hopefully rule a fracture out. Now, injury severity, what next? When it comes to severity, right, grade 1, 2, 3, assuming just an ankle sprain alone, grade 1, a little bit of a stretch, grade 2, partial tear, grade 3, a complete tear. If he has a grade 3 tear of these ligaments, which we cannot tell just from the mechanism or just from him sitting on the bench, I would be shocked if he came back during the NCAA tournament. That typical recovery time is going to be anywhere from probably 2 to 4 weeks, realistically maybe a month to 6 weeks. And so I'd be very, very surprised if he came back for the tournament. If this is just a grade 1, a grade 2, then yes, we're talking about potential to come back for the NCAA tournament. He might be able to push back if this is a mild grade 1 and be functional enough for the rest of the ACC tournament, but I would be very surprised if they push that because they know they're in the NCAA tournament. I would expect him to be shut down for the rest of this week, and then hopefully he's ready to go first, second round maybe of the tournament. I'd say best case scenario. Now, that's assuming your standard kind of run-of-the-mill ankle sprain and not considering if we have any of these other unusual types of injuries like the peroneal tendons, etc. So my fingers are crossed. I'm hopeful that maybe we see him back second round, Sweet 16. I'd be very surprised if he's back for the ACC tournament, and I think there's a very realistic chance that we don't see him back for the start of the NCAA tournament. But more to come. Obviously, we'll see how he responds the next day or so here. If we see him in a walking boot, I'd be a little bit concerned about short-term availability. If we never see him in a boot, that's going to be a positive factor for an earlier rehab. So that's it for the video. Thank you as always for watching. Let me know any questions or comments down below. And until next time, we'll see you later.